Hey, today is Leather Day for the Lather games, and I'm going to bring in Reef Point Soap's Aviator for that. One of my favorite soaps. It's got a great scent, and the base is super slick. The blade we're going to put in the razor is a Persona Platinum Chrome. Not usually a nice blade for me. And the razor we're going to use is the Rockwell 6S. Here's the top cap. It's the first use of this blade. Yeah, Persona makes so many, unfortunate for those of us trying to keep track, and they make them under different names. What I meant was there are so many names for Personas, and some of them are the same blade, that unfortunately since the packing for this one, the little envelope is just a clear guy. So I think it's just kind of your basic Persona. Maybe the little blues or something like that. All right, centered up easily in the Rockwell 6S. And today we'll be shaving. Got to handle it carefully because of the blade. I'm going to be shaving with the 3 plate. Whatever number you can see on the Rockwell is the 3. I love the grip of this razor, whether it's soapy or wet or both. Fine grip, nice heavy weight. It's not the most attractive razor, with that dual head design where you can flip it over to be a different aggression level, but it's very very smooth, wonderful razor, and I do like the fact that I can switch the plates, and sometimes I do feel like more of an aggressive shave, and sometimes I go for comfort. So here's the Aviator, and it's kind of a whitish soap, and I'm going to take out my trusty 1/4 teaspoon. Let's see, I was wondering if this was going to be soft enough to let me do that. So we've got a 1/4 teaspoon of this wonderful soap. It's a kind of an underrated soap. It may not, perform quite as nice as something like Barrister and Man. But actually, I had such a good shave with it one time that I think it really you could compare it to something like that. But it's not going to measure up to something like Holy Cow Donkey Milk or Barrister Man Reserve. But really, we're fighting about tiny details. Like maybe, let's say if Barrister and Man was a 90 out of 100, then I think this guy is, probably an 85 or an 87 out of 100, and so it's going to give you a great shave. It's going to perform well for you. And there's a 1/4 teaspoon spread around in the bottom of my Dollar Tree soup bowl, and I'll be back. The brush we'll be using today is a Mozingo handle with a golden nib, 24 millimeter grade A Badger Silvertip knot. The tips aren't super soft, not like their premium knot. What I've been experiencing lately that I don't like about it, it's just a little bit too much scrub for me, but a lot of people like scrub, and so that's just me. You might really enjoy it. I think we are ready to start mixing up the lather. So I'm going to splash my face. Okay. And I did have my Badger brush soaking for a few minutes. It works for me. I like it. It's not mandatory at all. Some people prefer to just rinse them for just a little bit, and they're good. And that's okay, whatever you want to do. Oh, such a good scent. since I haven't shaved with Reef Point in a while, I'm giving it a chance with just a damp brush. I slung out all the water I could, and so that you know, it still looks pretty dry. So after several seconds I stop, and then I go and grab my syringe, and what we'll do is we'll put in about half a teaspoon of water. One of the things that you can do that can be problematic is add water too fast for some soaps. Obviously you test your own soap and you find out what's good for you, but if you have a lot of watery, kind of watery lather that has lots of big bubbles, many cases I've found that that is just an indicator that you added water too quickly. We've got a pretty hard paste, a dry paste forming up just because of that half a teaspoon. Now I'll add another. Lather looks, you know, thick and very dense right now. No big bubbles at all, and that's a consequence of us adding the water slowly. It's a good one. Now we've got 2 teaspoons in it. Quarter teaspoon of soap is a good starting point, I found. There are some soaps and even some very big makers that you do need the full quarter teaspoon. There are plenty of other very good soaps that need less, but until you kind of make a list and remember which one is which, then I always start with a quarter. We've refilled the syringe now, so add another half a teaspoon. Obviously I am a bowl latherer. You could just mix it up out of the bowl, load it up there. It's called loading. And then go right to your face and just add water to the brush as needed. So the lather looks terrific so far. You can see the jaggedy points. That's an indicator that you need to keep adding water, or at least to my preference of soap viscosity, lather viscosity. So we're almost halfway through, almost up to the halfway point with the lather games. It's pretty cool. This is my first year doing it. I like Leathurday. Now it changed in the bowl. Do you see how it's a little bit more relaxed and acting more like a meringue or a soup in there? That's something to note. Sometimes your preferred soap, that may indicate the stopping point, that it's got enough water in it for your preference. Sometimes that's just an indicator to slow down with the water adding. See, it's not really stacking up on the edge anymore up here. It's dropping down because it's becoming more elastic. Doesn't quite have as much grabbing power as before. We can look at the peaks. Get a big old wad on the thing, pull it up like that. You know, a little bit of elasticity in the peaks there, kind of medium length peaks. Sometimes with some soaps you want to go all the way to long peaks. Sometimes long firm peaks. But with the really cool soaps that are just super performers, you can go to long flexible peaks, long elastic peaks. Look at that right there. That's a long elastic peak. Also look at the texture. We've got a medium sheen on there. So I think we're there. And that's with 3.5 teaspoons of water for the 1/4 teaspoon of soap. Rinse my face again. Get those hairs soft. And this is soft water, so that's good. And this is also just room temperature water. It's not warm water. Here we go. Oh, the scent is good. I'd say scent strength is maybe about a 6 out of 10. That's where I like it, which is why this is one of my favorites. So yeah, from this knot, I think I've got about, 22 uses in to this knot. And this painting motion that I'm doing now is very soft, and it's great. When I go to the scrub motion, I'm not feeling a lot of really soft hairs like with the premium or with like my Whip Dog Silvertip. But it is a scrubby sensation, so it's going to do a good cleaning job on your face. But at this point, not a lot of softness during the scrubbing part, perhaps because it's maybe more dense than I might prefer it to be. I don't really know. And I also don't know how much this knot might change if I had to keep using it. How it might look at 100 uses, if that softness would rise and be more prevalent. I'm not really sure. All right, the lather looks good. The Persona blade usually does me well. And just about every blade that I enjoy usually does well with the Rockwell, especially at this kind of setting. Not getting a whole lot of glide right now. Maybe it's a little on the thick side. Maybe I should have spent a little bit more time scrubbing. I'm going to bet that the performance on the second pass is not going to be a problem. Very good at not generating any kind of issues over here. Yesterday I was shaving with a Blackbird, and which is more aggressive, a lot more aggressive than this number 3 setting. And I really felt some irritation even the first time I went over that kind of the hump right there where your muscle or tendon goes, because it was cutting so closely. All right, a little rinse. nice, slick creaminess right there during the rinse. All right, I'm gonna leave my face a little wet. See what happens. You can also see that this 24mm knot on this guy just almost too big. He definitely kind of covers the whole area that I need to have done without a problem. All right, there we go. Looks like we got a ton of lather. Oh, such a good scent. I like it. Second pass, cross grain on the cheeks. Still not experiencing tons of glide here. Could very well be the Rockwell. This is my tricky area. Oh, I love hitting this tricky spot with, I may not be getting very much glide, but I'm able to do this really tricky area without any problems at all, without generating any irritation. And my neck seems to prefer that instead of fewer passes. With a more aggressive razor, I think it likes to do more passes with a more mild razor, and I get less discomfort that way. All right, we'll half rinse. Oh, feels really good when I'm rinsing that off. Pretty good cushion on that. Nice residual slickness here. And so if you need to go back and touch up an area that you've already shaved during the same pass, the lather's already been removed from it. If you, depending on your razor probably, but there's a pretty good chance you could do that with this good lather. I was using Rhinoceros by Chiseled Face last night. It did not have that same property. It was more of a watery slickness that would go away pretty quickly after you shaved the lather off of an area, and so you would need to re-lather before going back over something. Good scent. Definitely masculine. There's other things in there other than leather. I can't remember exactly what they are. And my nose is not good enough to be able to smell them right now and tell you. Now, the one benefit from the Chiseled Face Rhinoceros that I used yesterday was because it was more of a watery slickness. It was very quick to rinse from your hands or your face, whereas this is more of maybe a fat-related slickness, an oily or buttery type of slickness, which is what gives it that nice feel. But it also takes a little bit longer to rinse away, which I don't mind. All right. Pass number 3, and I'm getting more glide now. The Rockwell is getting some competition lately in terms of this particular razor. It's called the Carve is the company, and it's called the Bradley, the Christopher Bradley razor. You might be noticing that I'm doing just up either from the top or from the bottom passes on my neck area. That hair grows sideways. And so what I'm doing is just 3 different cross grain passes. So this blade seems to be working well. It's nice in terms of comfort, and of course we're about to take a look and see how effective it was at removing hair. It's not enough just to be comfortable. All right, I'm going to pause you while I do kind of the rinse after the 3rd pass here. Okay, we see some tips. I see some tips on there that need to be cut down a little bit more. Let's try a touch-up pass on the neck. I think I dialed this in pretty good. Feels great. So here's the quantity we have left. I've already told you the ratios. 1/4 teaspoon of soap, 3½ teaspoons of water. And it gave me 3 passes and then half a pass here, plus this. So it's almost perfect because I like a little bit extra margin. It might be 1 pass over, and so I might reduce it a little bit less than 1/4 teaspoon, and that's probably the perfect amount. And of course back off the water a little bit as well to compensate, unless you want it more creamy than this. Obviously, you can adjust the ratios to suit yourself. Right up here, I need to do it at this angle. This area of my face is a little twisty and weird. Then, my 3rd pass, I figured out pretty much come up. Adam's apple usually shaves pretty well. And there's something called the Gillette slide. You can even find some old materials from them from long decades ago, and you like, instead of going straight up and down or straight down as you shave, go ahead and go straight down, but tilt the razor head as you go straight down. And so you're shaving at a diagonal angle, but not a diagonal stroke. And so sometimes what that does for you is add a slicing motion that can cut hairs a little bit more easily than the 90-degree angle approach. And so they even they make slant razors that are specifically designed to do that without you having to think so much about it. Different kinds of slants. One of them is just a normal razor with a head that's tilted a little bit. All right, face feels great. Tiny bit of irritation in some of the neck areas, just tiny bit, but very comfortable shave so far. So slick, takes a second to rinse it off. All right, let's take a look at the results. That's better. That's better. That's above average. I'm happy with that. So, and I did not stir up any razor burn. Sometimes that happens when I go for a touch-up, especially if the razor is a little bit more on the aggressive side. All right, it feels great. Comfort is really good. Maybe 75% baby butt smooth on my cheeks without going against the grain. Great scent. Oh, here's a little note. Yesterday I used Eventide from Barrister & Mann as my aftershave splash. Don't really like that because it just smells like dip. It smells like Copenhagen. And I decided to try it anyway, and I found myself 18 hours later still smelling it on me and wondering, what's that smell I keep smelling? And I realized what it was. So that is a scent that really stays with you, at least if your body chemistry is like mine. All right, so that's terrific. Time for the balm before the splash. This will just help heal your skin from all the ravaging you just did to that top layer of cells. Even with a comfortable shave, it still does that. This is the venerable, popular, always available, inexpensive, yet great results and good ingredients for your skin. Just $5 on Amazon or Walmart, or a little bit more expensive in the drugstores, because drugstores are just that way. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is put things away while I let this soak in. With this soap, one of my favorites, Reef Aviator, I am also going to go with one of my favorite splashes from Stirling. Sharp Dressed Man, just wonderful. It is an alcohol-based splash. Doesn't have tons of great things for your skin in it. You know, it's got the scent, and then it's got the alcohol. But it's just a wonderful scent based off of Green Irish Tweed, a classic scent. It's very nice. Here's the way Stirling's little sample bottles look. This is one of the kind before they started making the little insert that let it come out slowly, narrowing insert. And so I learned my lesson on this guy, because it'll just all come out if you're not careful. So I just, like a garden hose, how you put your finger over the end of a garden hose to change the spray, I just did that with my finger and was able to drip it out without a problem. Sharp Dressed Man, very nice. All right, everything's pretty much put away. And skin has stabilized, feels good. Those alcohol splashes do tend to almost erase some of the moisturizing work of the balm, but I've got oily skin anyway, and so as long as that balm helps out just a little bit, then I'm good. And I don't know that those two scents really work together in a beneficial way, but I do like both of them, so it's like switching gears, you know. I think they do probably go together. But the result here was above average with the Persona and the Rockwell on a 3 setting. Worked well. A little bit of drag with the razor, and it could just be because it's this brushed stainless steel type of material. I can remember experiencing that in a few cases. So I might have to document what soaps that happens with, see if there's a correlation with the soaps. But there we go. Above average result. Really happy with that. I do keep trying this brush, and it was at least it wasn't prickly like it started out being, and it was a little on the scrubby side, but still. I enjoyed using it, but there are just better ones out there probably, so I'll probably sell it. All right, but I may give it a few more chances though, see how it evolves. A+ on all of the equipment used today. One of my favorite aftershaves, and one of my favorite soaps, and I really enjoy the Rockwell razor, and that's a good brush, the TGN knot. So there we go. Friday, Leather Friday, I think. for the lather games is done. Take care. Have a good night.